So yeah, next coming up is ROYA MONTAZERI from, she's the Senior Director of Quality at Cox Automotive. And I'm always shocked at like the complexity of what goes on behind the scenes when you're acquiring a car, right? Like I know it's a pain for all of us, right? Like, but like what really goes on the back end, it's a shockingly complex system. And Roya's got a lot of experience doing interesting quality systems and working with Agile and things like that. Roya, welcome, Roya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today, and thank you for inviting me for this speech. And as always, it's fun to have technical difficulties sharing screens. So just a little bit about our company. We are all about car, and as you see on the screen, we have many different services, applications, and different brands that our company offers to solve everything about the car. So if you have a car and you own a car, most likely at one point in that car life cycle, you touch one of our components. Cox Automotive provides services that basically enables the buyer, the dealer, the lender, the services that makes car buying, car shopping, car servicing very easy. And it's all digital. So with that said, you may already know some of these brands. Kelley Blue Book, as an example, is where many of us will go to get valuation for our cars. And the reason I'm sharing this data with you is that this screen will tell you how vast our platform is and how much information is included in that platform, and how do we need to actually test and make sure this platform can provide the type of services that our client need. I work in the area of a Dealertrack, which is basically fintech type of technology. In our suite of delivery of the digital services, we actually create and we actually service the flow from the time that somebody sits in front of a dealer and asks for a car, all the way to make that to a contract and you drive out with your car. In a particular, and this is big, this is much bigger in terms of how many integration is required, who do you need to connect to, what do you need to do in order for these flows to work together to make the end client customer actually that whole entire experience seamless. Particularly, we have different services that makes the flow, actually enables the flow. And virtual services is what we needed to put between these flows to make that end-to-end experience successful. As you see on the screen, we have digital retailing services, application processing, contract recoveries, and title management. For us, virtual asset was foundational. Imagine a world where you have a lot of connectivity and integration to different pieces, but you do not have any control on those availability of those integration, nor do you have any control on what those integration may be able to receive or respond back when they receive your request. So virtual service for us, when we looked at our problem statement, was a must-have. We knew we must have a virtual asset. And we knew the way we want to deal with it is we want to position it in an area of our platform where we can actually test the entire flow within the platform. And more to come on that. Why virtual services? Why did we have a problem? So our challenge, I would call our challenge a perfect storm. Pretty much similar to what Jason said a few minutes ago. We have a very extended data center with network segments, many services. It's shown on the corner right up here, where Each one of these network services contains thousands of servers and very complex network rules and firewalls that connects everything together all the way to our client bases. We definitely have very, very complicated data flow. Our application both has legacy and new. So these data flows are shown just like any other enterprise data flow on the right. Not easy to find out, and not all of them created through our current agile processes. Some come from legacies back many years ago, which didn't have all those agile artifact that comes from agile processes that makes this easy to break down and understand what's going on within each of these data flows. We definitely also had some processes, but the process is very uniform across all our agile practices. And we started where we did have some automation as well on the UI part, and we did test in automation, but again, the consistency wasn't there. And our application flows, each of those components also were quite, have a strong rule engine within them. And you see a little bit of application, just the snippet of application has a lot of decision points. So why was this a perfect storm? What made it perfect storm? It didn't feel, it actually was happening. You may have cleaned up, our quality problem statement was, we are getting too many incidents and we are actually affecting our uptime. We are having all these client issues that we needed to resolve. At the time, we also were deploying a new version of our application. So all of these would come in as application problem. But when you look deep, you see all these pieces that will make the application to work. They were also causing that perfect storm, that if the application doesn't, you may have the best application, but if half of the highway is broken, you're not going anywhere. Or you may have the best automation, but if the highway has a lot of bumps that your automation is not testing, or the other side of the highway is closed and you can't even go through it, you will actually, your automation won't catch any of those problems. So we needed to look at this challenge holistically, and we needed to come up with a plan with a definition of a KPI that's achievable so that we can solve the problem. Again, the statement of the problem was, we have a quality problem. But then we needed to break it down and say, where in the quality problem, and how are we going to make decisions, make investments in areas that can actually have an impact to solving this challenge or perfect storm. So really intentionally, we used one KPI. It's very easy to get lost in the world of KPIs, to have many, many things. But we put one KPI. We want to reduce our escape defect. We know it's coming from our perfect storm, but we want to reduce them 5% month by month, month over month. And I will tell you this, it was a combination of decisions that we made, including addition of service virtualization to our automation, that made us to move forward toward the right direction and achieve the result we want. So we looked at our testing and we realized there is a lot of component testing, but it's not an end-to-end testing. And our non-functional testing was happening in some area, not others. There were inconsistency. And performance testing, similarly, we weren't getting the requirement early in the cycle. We were doing it after the fact. Our practices, what was our practices look like when it came to quality? How did we do the test management? How did we do release management? We had the tools. We had all those tools of Agile. The practice was Agile. The idea was shift left. But how were we executing against that needed to be organized and needed to be governed. So we put quality practices to govern that. But I want to really focus on the piece of automation, the audience here, virtualization. Virtualization was the best thing could happen to us in a way that it enables us to test the right thing at the right time. So We had automation, many of them. We had tools, many of them. And within our component, we had some ability to actually mimic and create sort of a virtualization, but it wasn't. It was only within the component. And of course, we really strengthened on synthetic. We put these practices in place, and that took us to the next step. That was our mission, and we started working on those missions. Now, I want to focus on our journey with Parasoft and how did we implement the story of our virtualization. And I would not be truthful to tell you everything fall in place on the first year. This journey started in Q4 of 2019. When we looked at it, we knew what we want. We wanted to stand up our virtualization services fast because our problem was here. It was on our lap. We needed to do something right there and then. But we didn't go and blow up the whole program. We really focused on defining one service that we wanted to solve, one area that we wanted to virtualize. And we got buy-in from development, from the people in a Scrum team that had the problem, and really a small POC, but we worked with Parasoft team, we deployed our installation, and we got the POC to be actually used as part of our test scenarios. So that was Q4 of 2019 that allowed us to actually stand up, create, and make the vision to be actually getting to be implemented. We also at the same time started to say, hey, we have to continue looking at governance around this. We have to know what are our needs, create the roadmap. In some cases was hard. It wasn't everybody jumping and saying we need virtualization. We needed to prove the value in a way. So in 2020, when the quarter of one started, we started saying we need our COE team, which is our center of excellence, to start thinking about, okay, how do we define training that other than the 2 people who attended POC is the investment that we needed to commit to? How do we create training and make that training accessible? Parasoft was really helped us here. They actually made the training available to us. They made the online training easy to get. We put a contact person with Parasoft. They worked directly with Parasoft, and they got good results from those training, and those training could have actually been implemented across many Scrum teams. So in 2020, we actually look at our KPI and say, okay, how do we know we are bringing value? What is our KPI in 2020? We didn't have many virtualized service. We didn't virtualize everything. Today, still, we are not virtualizing everything. But we wanted to know what we are virtualizing is being used. It's not just a code that sits there. So we started looking at KPIs of what is the usage look like? What is the number of the hit? And who's using it? Who's our promoter? Who do we need to go and make sure that we enable the team, the Scrum team, we enable the most important flow, and then make sure that they actually are using these flows. And we actually are finding early in the cycle the problems, not at the end. And then again, this 2020 wasn't all shift left. It was a lot of afterthought because we needed to clean up, right? So we had a lot of shift right. My whole entire team is a shift right. Is the ability to make sure we are having a quality delivery. But our goal still stays with the focus of shift left. We need our engineering to get trained. We need them to create this virtualized service. It's the investment that happens early on. So this year, in fact, we increased our number of the virtualized service. I'm happy to say that we actually have a library of service, and this is the time where people come to us and they're asking for more training, more addition to the virtualized service. And it's actually part of our platform now. And it's not just that we use it for testing. It is not. There are some needs in our organization. We have multiple environments. It's not just one environment. We have dev, we have QA, we have a staging. we also wanted to be able to demo these things without having dependency for any of these nodes or any of these integration to be available. So our virtual system now is helping our implementation team. So if they want to deliver a new functionality where none of our nodes or none of our integration have actually yet consumes that new functionality, but we want to put this in front of other people, our virtual service gets updated and the implementation team uses that virtual service to demo and to actually put the new functionality out in front of our client. So the journey has been at best not easy, at least not easy, but at best it provided a lot of eye-opening values to not just quality team, to the entire development as well as even implementation and client services. So now I want to get into the deep of Parasoft. Why Parasoft? Why this virtualization? There were few foundational things. All of us know Parasoft core capability is in service virtualization. We look at a vendor where we can actually work with, that they have a roadmap. The investment for us was not just investing on purchasing the tool. The investment for us is being able to sustain the asset we are creating over years with the understanding of we're going to continue building up on this asset. So it was important for us that Parasoft provided a solution that actually is their core capability, and they have a plan for it, and they have a continuous roadmap that can help us to continue enjoying the asset we created without losing that asset, because that's where most of the investment happened today from us. So we created test flows, we defined the guideline, we put a lot of energy. We said, when you come to create the asset, you need to follow a guideline. Because, like I said, we have dev, QA, UAT. We created a standard that says you don't need to create the asset 50 times. Parasoft allows you through their tools to define the proxies and routing that you can actually deploy these once, but the request and response can come from different source, and we will automatically, through the logic, we will move the response to the right requester endpoint. And on top of it, we use the Parasoft to manage the virtual services. I just shared with you an example of what you see on the screen is like 3 different assets, all 3 on top are virtualized service in our development environment. And everybody goes in and hit them as if they are a lender to respond back as with the decision. And we actually put one real one in there as well, but there is no connectivity because it's at the lower environment. And we use some mimicking, but we no longer use that. We use all the real virtualized services for decision. And each one of these may actually, to some degree, supports different flow for upstream. And that was a success, because nowadays, we actually are at the point where we are totally getting to the left. At the feature level, we ask, what do you need to be added in a virtual service? What do we need to do to create a virtual service? So the conversation is moving left, which is, to us, is the only way we can say, hey, we are in the right direction with the right goal. And moving on to say, okay, did we accomplish the mission? I'll be honest with you, in the technology world, you never accomplish the whole mission. As soon as you feel like you got it, there is something else. But we put a specific KPI. We measured the KPI. Our escape defect, we have many different components. Within the component that are most mature in use of the Parasoft virtualization and other pieces that we talked about, our escape defect is even less than 5% now, to the point that we are actually changing that whole entire KPI for upcoming year. So we are totally achieved that escape defect part. Our urgent defect, again, within the component that are the program applied to, plus the virtualization, the aging is less than 7 days for any of the urgent issue. And our availability and uptime is at 99.98. Mind you that some of the availability uptime has to do with the real integration in production that the third party may not be available. So when it comes to our availability, we really, really are at 99.99. So I would say, yes, we achieved and accomplished through partnership with Parasoft and some of the other areas that we put together. In terms of our plan, we achieved our goal. Is there more to do? Absolutely. We still have some, legacy component, legacy pieces that we continue adding better testing to them at each layer of our network. And I can say this: looking at it from investment perspective, it is an investment that is perhaps one-time tool investment, but it's investment in your people, is investment in the way you create virtual asset, and it's the investment in the way that you're going to get these virtual assets be part of your code, similar to your code. Today, our virtual assets are as important as our code. If something is not running, they may cause downtime in a way that we will not have a confidence to deliver something to the market if it doesn't go through these test flows. So I talk a lot, and I want to open it up for question, and thank you for sharing this time with me.
Thanks, Roy. It was some great stuff. We had a couple questions here. I don't know how much of this you can answer, so I'll just ask it and you decide what you're allowed to disclose. But someone wanted to know more about what did you mean by reducing issues to 5% month on month? Is it how many issues are you having in production?
At the time we started, we had many, and when we say 5%, I don't know if much you know about escape defect calculation. This is what you found during testing versus what is total found over in production. So we are measuring escape defect, not raw number of 100 or 50. This is incoming versus outgoing. So we know that you have to try to find the issues in your house first before you get to the market. So yes, when we started, we had many. And the reason we wanted to bring it escape defect, the percentage down, is because that tells us the maturity of our testing inside the house.